Hi everyone, this is Margaret Manning and welcome to Mornings with 60 and Me. Today is Monday, August 29th, so welcome to a new week. I am drinking my morning cup of tea. This morning I have a mystery tea. It's from my Ayurvedic collection. It's called Bright Mood, and I don't know whether it's going to give me a bright mood, but I have no idea what's in it. It just says herbal infusion, so I'm having a chance, taking a risk, and it actually tastes quite good. So I hope you've got your cup of tea, a cup of coffee. Just sit, relax, and we'll go through what's going on in the world today. And I've got a couple of good stories for you too to get your week off to a great start. Now, I want to remind you though, before we start, that if you'd like to get this news first, please go to 60andme.com/mornings and then just sign up and you'll get this note in your email box every morning, get the news first. Okay, so let's go through what's going on. Very first thing I saw on the news this morning when I woke up was there's been a bombing in Brussels in a building, police building, but there were no injuries because no one was there, but it was a car driven into the building. Now, whether or not it was an accident or deliberate, we don't know, but that's something to keep on your radar for the day. Brussels has had all kinds of challenges this year, so hopefully it's nothing too serious. But I did want to talk to you about the news on something that we haven't chatted about too much, which is this migrant refugee issue in Europe. And it affects really the whole world. And I know that there's dialogues about, the whole world helping out with the situation. But basically last year, Germany took in 1 million refugees and migrants from places like the Middle East, Afghanistan, and Africa. And this year, they're intending to take in about 300,000. Angela Merkel has had a lot of heat about this policy of hers to bring in refugees from abroad. Half the people in her country don't agree with her policy, but she's going ahead with helping and offering integration to these communities. Now, in 2015, just so you know the scale of this, there were about a total of 1.3 million migrants, refugees, who came into Europe. A lot came in through Greece and Italy. And they were mostly from, in order of significance, well, in order of arrival, Syria was number one, Afghanistan, Iraq, and Kosovo. Those were the 4 top countries that people came into Europe from. Then there's other countries like Sweden, Hungary, Italy, and France are helping with refugees coming in by sea from Greece and Italy. So it's a very big challenge in Europe, and there hasn't been a really significant unified message from the EU about what to do with these poor individuals. But I just wanted to let you know that it's still an issue, and thousands of people are trying every day to get to Europe, and they're struggling. So anyway, that's just an update on the migrant refugee situation in Europe, and I'll keep you informed of that as time goes on. We tend to prioritize things that are right in front of us, but then there are things like this that go on just all the time. So in the United States, a couple of things. There was a Southwest Airlines plane that had a problem with its engine flying from New Orleans to Orlando. And the engine blew up, and they, obviously had to deploy the oxygen masks, and passengers were evacuated from the plane. They made an emergency landing in Pensacola, and nobody was hurt. Everybody got off safely, followed instructions, and the crew, passengers, all were safe. And the only reason I mention it is, number one, I lived in Dallas for many years, and I flew Southwest all the time, and I really like them. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the Southwest crew on that flight. Good job. They really did an amazing job of getting everyone down safely. And also the second reason was, I know a lot of women in our community don't like flying, and there's risks in every means of transport, but this one I thought was a very good example of a plane that had a problem, had an engine problem, and it just still managed to land safely. So planes can go through a lot of turmoil and turbulence and still be safe ways to travel. So that's just my little airline thing for the day. And also in the States, Donald Trump has started to restate his immigration policy and how he's going to deal with illegal immigrants. And the shouting goes on between the two candidates. And in fact, one of our boomer people, Cher the singer, who's 70 years old now, was filmed giving her point of view about the election, and she had her own very unique, outspoken way of saying it. I just love love people that stand up for what they believe in. They say what they mean, and we just have to see both sides of the story and try to keep an open mind. But anyway, that's the elections in the States, and it's heating up with just a few months to go. In Italy, yesterday, of course, was a very sad day as the cities or towns affected by the earthquake just start to regroup. There, of course, was a day yesterday where all the museums in Italy donated their proceeds to the rebuilding of these small towns. But recently, there's been some discussion about whether they should even be rebuilt. There very few people were living in them. They're in a very volatile earthquake zone. And I just was reading some stories on the weekend about how this is really maybe an issue, that they don't want to rebuild these towns. They're just in too much of an ongoing risk, that whole area. And one thing that was amazing to report is that during these series of earthquakes and aftershocks, that central part of Italy dropped 8 inches. Now, that doesn't sound like very much, but for a whole landmass to drop 8 inches is huge. And also, the energy produced from that movement was the equivalent of 20 atomic bombs. So it gives you an idea of what these poor people went through in Italy, and what can happen in the world when these earthquakes take place. So I think that's an important story. In Singapore, in Asia, I wanted to report that 41 cases now of Zika have been reported in Singapore. And this is mostly apparently from a construction site where workers were affected by these mosquitoes that bite you, and you get the Zika disease from them. But it's really interesting now that Zika is all over the world in different parts of the country of the world, and especially United States, where we said yesterday 500 plus women who are pregnant with Zika infected children potentially. So it's linked to rare birth defects in children, and we still don't know much about what really happens long term with this horrible disease. So that's in Singapore. I've tried for days to find stories from Canada, because we have a lot of women in our in Canada in our community, and honestly, I could hardly find any dramatic news. You guys have such a straightforward lifestyle, it seems there. But there was one story that yesterday all the Toronto Olympics fans got out to do a spontaneous welcome home to all their Toronto sports athletes from the Olympics. And apparently that was quite a party. But, the other headlines I found in Canada, which will make you laugh. But seriously, I went to CBS News, and this was it. Okay. Naked man takes shower, steals tomatoes from Toronto backyard. That was a real headline. Or, mysterious brown goo strewn across North Vancouver. So, women in Canada, if you've got some news you'd like to share with me, please send it to me, Margaret@60andme.com, and I'll include you in the news. But you guys seem just to have a lot of very well-balanced society going on there. And I know there is. I'm joking in a way, because I know there are important things going on in Canada. And maybe you could just advise me as where the best news source is for Canada. That would be great. Anyway, so that's that. Now, I want to switch gears, and I want to feature an article that was written by someone in our one of our bloggers. Her name's Lisa Dunkel. Lisa is a really amazing woman. I actually got to meet her. She was in Geneva last year, and we met. I went down there, and we met, had coffee, spent a couple of hours talking about our lives and what she's done with hers. She's now living in the Yucatan. And she's, I'm not sure where she was born, but she spends a lot of time in Chicago and in the United States. But she lives now in Yucatan and loves it there. But like everyone, she's dealing with things like you and I. And she wrote an article for 60andMe called How to Feel Like a Millionaire on a Budget. And I really love this article. It's one of our most well-read articles. And what she does in this article is says, basically women in their 60s are living on a lower budget. Let's face it, we're not working. We probably didn't save as much. There are some of you who did, but many didn't. And so we're living on a budget, but yet we want to feel good. We want to feel special. And so I think it's Lisa. Am I saying your name right? Is it Lisa or Liza? It's Liza, and I always call you Lisa, but I'm probably pronouncing it wrong. But anyway, Lisa says that luxury is really a state of mind. It's an attitude, and that getting into a poverty mindset is really what the problem is. If you think you have nothing, then it's hard to make something from little, you know. So anyway, she gives us some tips, and I'll go through a few and see whether any of these inspire you for the beginning of a new week. So the first thing is, she says, shop like a French woman. Well, I would also say shop like a Swiss woman, because we're kind of the same in that we shop daily. You know, we have markets locally. We don't go to big shops and buy for the week. We tend to buy our food daily. So we buy exactly what we need. Nothing is wasted. And we go and see what's in season, what fresh vegetables. And you pick, you know, one tomato, you know, one small piece of chicken, or one beautiful, you know, bunch of grapes. And you make that your special meal. And so you take your shopping bag, you go daily, pick your items one by one, and you just, you know, tend to live in small apartments for one thing, so you don't buy in bulk. You just buy special, and you make a little meal, and it is, you know, you're treating yourself, and it makes you feel like it's a luxurious meal. I think that's true. The other thing is to eat outside. Now, easy in the Yucatan, but there are, I mean, most of us have a window in our room, hopefully, where we could sit even by the window, just pull a table and a chair, and just have the sun coming in, or the light, and eat in nature. And just that sense of being, you know, treating yourself with, like, you know, creating a precious environment is one way to make you feel like a millionaire. You know, create your environment and make it beautiful. Another thing that Lisa does is to light candles. And I think this is so true. I actually like incense as well, but it's basically taking your space, even with just a glass of wine, or, you know, fizzy water, whatever you've got, and just lighting a candle and sitting there enjoying the glow of the candle, feeling that you've made a special moment for yourself. And have a drink of tea. You know, just take some time to really make a sacred space for yourself. So I think that's precious. Another thing is to make time for tea time. I'm a Brit, you know, I was born in London, so I love my tea. But one thing that Lisa says is to, you know, just every afternoon, 2 o'clock or 2:30, just take time for tea. If you've maybe got a little book you want to read, or something that just something, a thought that you want to mull over, just make yourself a cup of tea. And also invite friends. You know, if you've got a couple of friends in the neighborhood, or you know someone that maybe is living alone, invite them to come over, have a cup of tea together. You know, just live that kind of, you know, afternoon tea luxury experience. I think that's a really cool idea. And I drink tea all day, but sometimes I do take a moment in the day, maybe buy a little scone from the bakery, and go to the gym afterwards to lose the calories. But no, just treat yourself to a little cake or something special, and have a cup of tea every day. And then finally, she says, go for a walk. I think that's one of the best ideas. It's great exercise, but it also connects you with the world, and that's free. And it's free to go out and just feel like you're walking the same air. They're breathing the same air as a millionaire. They've got the same beautiful trees to look at, the same lakes, the same nature to experience. So you're equal, and you're a millionaire living on a budget. I love that article, Lisa. It's just great, and it inspires me every time I read it. So we leave the link for you so you can go and check it out. But it's Lisa Dunkel. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about today was meditation. And I don't know how many of you meditate. I have actually meditated since I was in my 20s. And I've gone through times in my life where I've just sat for 5 minutes. Other times I've gone to retreats and, sat for hours. And I really find it's helpful in my life, and always have. Just feel more relaxed and more calm. But research now is showing that, we've been feeling this for years, but it's being proved by research. And again, I'll leave the link for you, because there's about 7 different research reports that show meditation not only helps you with reducing stress and feeling calmer, it also actually changes the structure of the brain. It actually changes the thickness of certain parts of the brain that deal with anxiety, and also with what they call self-referential thoughts. My yoga teacher in Bali called this monkey mind. And it's really where your mind just doesn't let you go. It just keeps going in a loop, and it's all about me, me, me. And meditation apparently helps with the part of the brain that helps with these, what they call self-referential, self-referring thoughts, which I think is kind of interesting. Now, those were Yale and UCLA, so these are not small groups that are doing the research. John Hopkins also has done some research to show that meditation can help with depression and feelings of isolation. Now, also pain. And their research is very interesting because there's no magic bullet for depression and pain, chronic pain, for example. But they do find that meditation, in research that they've done, has helped. So that's another thing to think about with meditation. It also, I think this is a Harvard research, but it also talks about how meditation helps with concentration and awareness. And I do know that this helps me a lot because the practice that I do is a Buddhist meditation, and it's where you really just watch your breath. You just breathe and just try to watch thoughts as they come into your mind and just let them go, and have that discipline of kind of just focus. And so this is what this research showed, is that meditation really helps you to focus, which I think is a really important thing in getting work done, getting any kind of project done. So that's the stories for today, and I hope that they've been helpful in getting your week off to a great start. I want to also remind you to go up to 60andme.com/mornings and sign up for this news. If you find it fun and you're enjoying it every morning, tell a friend, tell someone to come and join you, and then talk about it afterwards. And leave your comments below on any of the subjects that we've talked about today. It's a conversation, it's your space. So I wanted to close with just a question for you. And I think that maybe the article I read about living like a millionaire might help. And it's just simply this. What do you do to make yourself feel like a millionaire? Or maybe just to put it another way, what things do you do to make yourself feel special? And leave your comments in the section below. We'll have a conversation. And I just want to thank you all again for being here. And I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow on Mornings with 60 and Me. Take care, everyone.